Hey guys, Adam here as per usual. How are we all doing? I hope you are well. Busy as ever, looking a little bit dishevelled as ever. So recently I've had a few questions on the channel about kind of pedal board and gear setup and stuff and what's going on. There's been a big kind of transition in my gear over the last 12 months in particular. I've kind of moved away from using valve amps live. When we started gigging more with Armortura, carrying heavy valve amps got old very quick. One day maybe we'll do it again, but at the moment I'm absolutely digging the Quilter Overdrive 200 solid state head you can see built into the rack back there. Sounds awesome. Obviously I've got a 6-string Strandberg this year as well, which I've been using in the band. And recently the Pedalboard kind of went through a bit of an overhaul as well. A lot of things went off, a lot of new things went on. So people must have noticed that in videos or whatever, and I've had a couple of questions just saying what's going on basically. So this is it, quick and dirty rundown. So we're going to have a quick look through the pedals and the racks, etc. And then we're going to do 5 or 6 minutes at the end, just kind of playing, demonstrating some tones and some of the pedals, etc. as well. As ever, you want to see any of these pedals in more depth, go elsewhere. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to keep the channel a little less gear orientated, you may have noticed, over the last kind of 6 months or so, and a lot more kind of focused on just playing, jamming, music, teaching, talking. But any of these things you want to see in more detail, let me know and I'll see what I can do. So let's check it out. A really quick and crude look at the pedal board. So start off with the cable coming into this patch bay at the top that I made. Just makes patching the pedal board in and out the signal chain much easier. Then that runs into the D'Addario tuner. Really sweet tuner, big display. Like I said, you know, I work at D'Addario, but I'd be using this tuner even if I didn't, had I come across it, so really awesome. Then that runs into the G-Lab GSC4 guitar system controller. This is kind of the brains of the rig. This is what controls everything, performs all the basic functions. It's switching MIDI, it's switching amp channels, and it's bringing pedals in and out of the signal chain as well. Absolutely vital. You guys probably know what this does, but it's basically just means I can press one button and completely change everything in my setup. That sounds awesome. So the pedals that I'm using must fill a space because I've only got 5 of the 6 loops being used at the minute, but there you have it. So first up, for buffering, by the way, the GSC4 has a really nice buffer. I did do some videos on the GSC4 a while back when I first got it a few years ago. I must go through and update those again, guys. First up is the Hartmann compressor. Hartmann are unfortunately no longer in business, so I bought this second hand fairly recently. Bit of bubble wrap in the picture there. It's kind of it's basically, from what I understand, Orange Squeeze compressor clone, with a few kind of modernizations and a few tweaks. I've got it set like that, which looks quite extreme, but I really like it for just kind of controlling the overall picking dynamic and everything of the guitar. I use it. It's almost an always-on pedal, as you'll see when we're kind of talking through the tones. I use it in most of my sounds. Next up's the Mark L Jazzy Drive. This has been on the board longer than any other pedal at the moment. I've had this 3 or 4 years maybe. It's an 808, but it's a really good one. Voiced really nice. There's a modern sound which has a lot more kind of low end and stuff. Not interested in that. So I have the vintage setting, classic 808 trick of level on full, tone on full, and drive pretty much all the way off, just for kind of boosting rhythm tones mainly. Does that mid-hum thing exceptionally. Iron Tone IO, if you guys kind of know my channel and stuff, you know this is the pedal that I make. It's essentially a low gain fuzz designed to sound somewhat like an old school 50s, 60s valve amp would have broken up before kind of distortion channels were invented. Like a small amp cranked up onto full, that's the idea. Sounds great, that's all I'll say about that. Next up is the newest pedal on the board, the Nuomo or Nunomo LLC Limbo Overdrive. This is a super cool pedal. Not much going on the internet in way of reviews and things about this, so I'll need to get around to doing it. It's got a really unique feature where you can basically clip, you can control the clipping of the negative and positive side of the signal. So what that means is you can clip them kind of symmetrically, asymmetrically, or anywhere in between and really fine tune the sound. It's a real tweakers nerd kind of pedal. And then last but not least, the Providence Anodyne Chorus, because you just can't beat analog chorus for certain things. That's all in front of the amp. Then it runs over to the kind of rack unit, and this may look like a lot of gear, but it's really not, guys. It takes like 10 minutes to set up. The way I've got this set up is in the effects loop. It'll come out of the Overdrive 200, the amp, which is awesome. Need to do more videos on that. Into the channel 1 and channel 2 and channel 3 of the Digitech Studio 400. Now, I've done a couple of videos on that. I need to get around to doing more. I'm mainly using that for some additional digital compression, some modulation, lots of EQ, and a little splash of reverb here and there. Really great algorithms in it, to be honest. You guys know I love the sound of the kind of 90s, 80s, 90s digital units. That just, there's something kind of wrong with them that makes them so right. It's kind of a bit grainy and a bit synthetic sounding at times, but if you're really careful with how you set it, it sounds awesome. Then out of channel 3 of the Studio 400 into the TC Electronic D2 for most delay work, and then back into channel 4 of the Studio 400, which is where I would typically run like reverbs and things. So I'd normally have kind of section 1 for noise gating, section 2 probably for some kind of compression, section 3 for some kind of modulation or EQ, and section 4 typically for reverb. That's kind of the way I set it up. It's running in patch boxes here, and that's all running into this awesome Quilter Overdrive 200, and finally into the Zilla 212 with Warehouse Speakers Veteran 30s. They are so called. So yeah. So let's do a little bit on kind of sound. So first of all, nice slippers. D'Addario pedal tuner. Bear in mind, remember that I work at D'Addario, but great tuner, as I said. I am tuned half a step flat on this guitar. So start off with there. So I've got a load of banks with presets in, etc. But just a quick demonstration of what I'm kind of using every pedal for. This is my Armortura, which is the band setup, and also just kind of become my playing at home setup as well. So 0 is always what I call the panic button. So it sends a MIDI signal to turn everything to bypass, to put the amp into just kind of basic clean channel, and also bypass all pedals, so everything just bypassed. And then some basic sounds that you'll regularly hear kind of when I'm just jamming in videos, etc. First off is my basic clean tone that I called Halos, modelled on Andy Timmons' kind of halo, what he calls the halo around the note kind of delay kind of idea. And what that does is I talk through the rack and the various settings. I put it on that's a clean channel on the amp, and just the buffer and the Hartman compressor in there as well. The delay and stuff is handled by the rack effect. Not much call for that with Armortura, to be fair, but it's a basic clean tone if we need it. Next up is what I call swell. So this is a really interesting, really cool sound. And what's going on there is on the pedal board, it's really simple. We've got the buffer and the compressor, the Hartman compressor in there again. Then we've got the Providence Anodyne chorus. All that the Anodyne chorus is doing... Sorry, I need to get this set up to make this pedal demonstration easier. All that the Anodyne's doing, overkill pedal for this one sound, is this. So you can hear it's just got a kind of swelling in and out effect that I've got going on there. Quite deep, quite pronounced kind of swell. All of the rest of the effects again is handled in the racks like I talked about. Really cool. First rhythm channel, I call this light rhythm. It's probably still a lot heavier than what some of you guys use. And all that is, that's the buffer. So on most of these kind of patches and stuff, I'm using the buffer just to help drive the signal on a tad. Hartman compressor into the iron tone I/O, just set with gain and volume on full. These are the pedals that I make. I used to make, kind of not doing it so much anymore, but drop me a message if you're interested. of an old schoolish fuzzy rhythm kind of sound, but you can still kind of hear the individual strings as well. I was out recently with Rabia Masad, who I know all you guys will know of. Check him out if not. And he was talking about kind of using fuzz for certain rhythm tones and stuff, and that kind of what inspired me to come up with that basic sound. All it is a little bit of compression, the iron tone IO, and just some kind of jangly sort of EQ in the racks and a splash of reverb. Really fun sound. That's going to be all over kind of my new record, I reckon. Then the main kind of Armortura rhythm sound. Yeah, really cool. So lots of thick, low mid-range in there. A reasonably tight noise gate. Not super tight. And again, running the Hartmann compressor. The Hartmann compressor's become my nearly always on pedal. Really cool, as I was talking about. And the Mark L Jazzy Drive, just for that kind of tube screamer bump. And I've got again a further kind of low mid-range bump going on in the amp. Cool rhythm sound, I like it. And then next up is my main lead sound. And I love that sound. It's my main lead tone and has been iterations after a while. Again, the buffer's running, and it's the gain channel on the amp with some interesting stuff going on with delays and stuff. Not the compressors. This is the only sound where the compressor's not running. What is kind of providing the main boost, and it's really cool, is the newest addition to the pedal board, the Nuonomo LLC. Not quite sure how you pronounce that. Sorry, fella. Limbo overdrive. Really cool overdrive, as I talked about. Yeah, just to give that kind of thick mid-rangey, and I've tried to get a somewhat Holsworthy kind of lead sound, but not quite. Holsworth is a little bit kind of softer again, but I needed to retain some of that treble so that the pick and dynamic and everything wasn't lost, and the pick and articulation in kind of more pick and runs. That just kind of gets lost if I soften the treble down anymore. So that's the main ones. To be fair, I'm kind of only really using rhythm and lead mainly with Armortura. The rest just kind of play at home stuff or little flourishes here and there, why not? Channel 6, it's called Strat. It started life as trying to find a kind of stratty kind of tone. Went somewhere a little bit different. So it's a low gainy, fuzzy, almost amp-like kind of sound. Again, we've got the Hartmann compressor to kind of even things out, and that's running into the iron tone IO again. So it's kind of like taking this rhythm tone and just adding in some delay and things, basically. Pretty cool. And then what I've done is add in on the next channel, Strat Plus, yeah, why not? Is what I've done is then basically add in the Mark L Jazzy Drive, pushing the iron tone IO. giving us a somewhat slightly dialed back Sean Laney, not quite Eric Johnson, more of a Sean Lane kind of dialed back fuzz sound. And this has been my favourite tone to play on for the last couple of weeks, just jamming at home. And finally, I've got another variation on my kind of main lead tone. This time it's the compressor, and it's the jazzy drive driving the limbo into a clean channel. Kind of a lower gain sort of version of this. But with some reverb in there as well. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Just a quick kind of rundown. I always intended to be quick, and it always works out a little bit longer than it should. Kind of rundown of kind of the pedal board and the rig as it stands at the moment. If there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys very soon. Take it easy. Why at the end of all these videos do I do some ridiculous hand gestures?